Welcome to the Alldus podcast, Women in ServiceNow series, a brand new series dedicated to showcasing the incredible women leading the way in the ServiceNow ecosystem. With your host, Ailsa Cassie, each episode will bring you inspiring conversations with trailblazing women who are driving innovation, breaking barriers, and shaping the future of ServiceNow. Whether you're an aspiring leader, a seasoned professional, or just curious about the impact of female leadership in the tech space, this podcast is your go-to source for inspiration and empowerment. Join us on this exciting new journey as we dive into the stories, challenges, and triumphs of the remarkable women making their mark within the ServiceNow ecosystem.
So you're listening to the Alldus podcast, Women in ServiceNow series, and today I'm joined by Annemarie Sint Jago, who is part of the core ServiceNow leadership team for Fujitsu in Benelux. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Elsa. And I'm really happy to be here today. Thank you for the invite.
No, it's great to speak with you. And we've been planning this episode for a while, and during that time, your role has actually changed since then. So maybe let's just start from the beginning. I'd love to hear a bit about your ServiceNow journey.
Right. Yeah, I started in the ServiceNow ecosystem about 10 years ago as a junior consultant. And it was at the time working for a startup company. So at a startup company, you have to wear many hats. And that's something that also really appealed to me because I have many interests, different experiences. So apart from being a developer, I was also a consultant. I was included in marketing activities. I think I even helped with creating the website. But my main role was a developer and consultant. And it grew out to be a solution architect and leading teams of other consultants and developers, becoming a product owner as well in parallel. Then pretty recently, I've started in a new role for 50% of my time as lead of the ServiceNow employee workflows practice in Europe for Fujitsu Europe, while at the other same time, I'm a business accelerator for Netherlands for ServiceNow as well. So that's it in summary.
What kind of challenges would you say that you've faced even just in that journey in the last 10 years within ServiceNow?
Well, first of all, it's like being a generalist means you have many different interests, and I didn't really know what to do. So yeah. I studied product design and engineering, which I really was committed to and I enjoyed a lot. But just before my graduation, I got sick. And it kept continuing, and I found out when I was just 25, I found out that I have a chronic illness, which is multiple sclerosis, which is a serious illness. And as you can imagine, my world sort of collapsed at that time. Yeah. I held very much onto the person that I thought I was at that moment. So this student of product design with all my dreams, I think I wanted to become a designer for IKEA or something. And I had to come to terms with the things that I couldn't do anymore. But I realized that I had to change my mindset into something like, instead of thinking about what could I do in the past, but not anymore, I had to change it to, but what can I do now based on the person I am now and the situation I'm in now? So I had to take a step back, reflect with the physiotherapist, work on becoming stronger again physically. And I chose a complete different career path, which was literary studies, because it's so theoretical that I thought I don't need to depend on any physical things. I can just read. But it was during the economic crisis when I was about to graduate. And it was very difficult to get a job, even with a university degree in the humanities. And at the time, I've always been interested in technology. So since I was, I think I was like 8 or 9 years old, I was already busy with computers. I taught myself HTML and CSS when I was like 12. So also during my studies, literature, I thought, you know what, I'd like to do some research, but I don't want to do all the manual work. So I taught myself Python, which is a programming language, to create a web crawler so that I could so that I could use technology to make my life a bit easier. One of the challenges, like I said, was also with a degree in literature and a master's degree in new media and digital culture, that was still a humanities degree, and there was not a lot of work. But I could use my hobby, learning Python, teaching myself these programming languages. That sort of allowed me to step into the world of ServiceNow, because I showed that I had an affinity, that I had an interest in technology, that I was able to make a bridge between technology and people.
Yeah.
So those were two hurdles, two completely different challenges. But yeah, that's how it started with ServiceNow.
And with that and finding out that type of news when you're at that age, at a critical point in your life, finishing university, it takes a very strong person with a lot of will and resilience to be able to kind of pivot from that and then decide, look, I'm going to take action. This is my options and this is what I'm going to try and pursue. So I think it's such an incredible reflection of you as a person, and also the kind of leadership skills that you then are able to transfer into the work that you're doing now and your role in technology. So yeah, it's just incredible and very inspiring for people. Going back to your role at Fujitsu, so your ServiceNow career began, 10 years ago, but you've been working at Fujitsu, I think it was from about 2021. You started in a senior position and now you're very much part of the core leadership team. So tell us about what your kind of role is at the moment and what you're responsible for.
Yeah, so in my European role, I'm responsible for further building out our European employee workflows practice. As you may be aware of, like, ServiceNow has always been started as an IT service management platform, and more applications entered. So that means that the most experience that people have as a company is in ITSM. So HR and employee workflows is relatively new compared to that. So that means that there is a lot of building up from the ground, like our different teams in our different countries. There were no teams in a sense. We had to build these teams and make sure that we can deliver when there's the demand, and create the demand for employee workflow implementations. But there are so many dimensions to it. Like, how do we approach this from a sales perspective? How do we make sure that our teams are skilled? How will we share knowledge? How will we share our lessons learned and become better, grow together in this employee workflow practice? So my role is really to drive this and support the different countries and different teams in their growing their employee workflow practices. Yeah,
and it's a challenge in itself working within the ServiceNow environment, knowing that there is a skills shortage, specifically within areas like, HRSD, where, not everyone has left university and just straight away started working with ServiceNow. So it's like trying to identify transferable skills and then providing the right training activities and really kind of scaling the business from scratch like that. But what are the kind of key challenges that you've faced trying to scale a business, and how have you overcome them?
In the end, it really comes down to people, right? So you want to help people, and you do that with people, and technology is a way to do that, but it's really around people. What I see is that you need different profiles in a team. You need developers with more technical skills. Yeah, you have people that can have the conversations with the customers, but you also need people that glue these kinds of perspectives together, because otherwise you just have a technical solution and you have a good conversation, but you want to bring those together. And I noticed that it's really challenging to find people with these skills of speaking both business language and knowing what's technically possible. And especially in Belgium, we see really the challenge of languages, where we live in a country with 3 national languages, which is Dutch, French, and German. Often you need more than just one if you engage with prospects or customers. So that means we have really, really skilled people, but because they don't speak French or Dutch or just English, that can be really a challenge. The challenge is really about finding the right people and make sure that they get the skills to, I would even say to flourish, because their happiness is also as important as their delivering value, of course.
Yeah, I mean, you're dealing with people, and particularly employees. You're not just dealing with, finding the right technical skills. You're also dealing with different personalities, people that enjoy different management types, and trying to find that balance between, managing different people and that kind of hub of skills and, personal differences. It's always going to be a challenge, especially when you're scaling from the ground up.
Absolutely. And that's something that I really struggled with in the beginning, because I only had myself as an employee as reference. And you can really see that there are so many different needs. Some people are just, they wish to engage with a customer for just a longer time, for years maybe. I myself am someone that I like change. Changing customers. But why am I mentioning that? It's because in the end, it's about really understanding, connecting with each and everyone to understand what makes you come out of bed every day and go to work. What drives them? Do they have their own goals, and how do they want to develop themselves further? Because I think when someone says to me, I want to become more of a leader, or I want to become more of an expert, you can also make sure that these people can do the activities that help them with their personal goals. So it's really about connecting and understanding and listening to each other.
Yeah. And not everyone's going to be great at everything, but it's like understanding people's differences, what they're good at, what they're not good at, and trying to play to their strengths. And even as maybe a leader yourself, there could be something that someone reporting into you is maybe better at than you, but kind of focusing on that and harnessing that to make it work cohesively and strategically for you and for the benefit of your employer. I hope you don't mind me saying that.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Absolutely. I recognize this very, very much, because when I first stepped into a management or leadership position, I thought that I needed to have all the answers. And that gave me so much stress, because leadership is not about having all the answers at all. It's about listening and seeing what do we need, and bringing a team of people together and do things as a team, not as an individual.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of obviously building a strong core team is super, super important. And with the way that we work digitally at the moment, do you get to spend an awful lot of time in person with people, like having face-to-face interactions, or like how do you manage that aspect of having a strong core team with maybe not being able to sit in an office often together?
As you know, after COVID, our way of working changed. So there's a lot of remote work. Also, since I have a European position, I cannot be in the different countries. So there's most interactions are via Teams.
Yeah.
But I noticed that when you then see each other for a certain event, for instance, then the connection that you make via Teams is sort of really becomes more strong when you see each other.
Yeah, that's true.
But what we're actually getting to here is I can be super pragmatic and even a bit rigid into thinking like, okay, I'm very task oriented. And then sometimes there are these moments I really forget about the connection, the personal connection with people. And there may be even moments that I think, oh, I have so many meetings just to talk with people. And I've really come to realize that these are the most important meetings. The meetings you have to understand what's happening, what's going on in someone, what are their struggles, are they happy or not? Do they want to get more responsibilities? Do they have any challenges? So these one-on-one calls with the different leads are, I think, in a way, one of the most important kinds of meetings to have.
Definitely. It's funny, isn't it? Because when there's not maybe like a sales KPI attached to a call that's just about building a relationship, when you're so busy with doing so many different things and wearing so many different hats with all the responsibilities that you have, it can be easy just to get sidetracked by that, like you said, but kind of bringing yourself back to the real world and the people that you're interacting with. There's just so much that you can get from those conversations. So I understand why it's important to you as well. And we're going to talk as well about retaining. Once you've built a really strong core team, how do you ensure that you retain the staff that you've employed and invested in?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think we already touched upon that. And I think this is really this connection because, yeah, in a way, honestly, doing ServiceNow implementations is something that we could do for other companies. We could do that as a freelancer. So why are we doing that for our current employer? Well, I think it's because of the people. So you want to make sure that the persons they feel they are treated fairly, that they have a place in the team, that they're heard, that they are seen. So I think that's important. And of course, we have things like making sure that people develop and can grow. That's super important. We have to really make sure that we see and hear people and know what their needs are as a professional and as a person.
Definitely. And there's a lot of kind of discourse on LinkedIn and different channels of communication regarding burnout. And obviously burnout in such a high stress environment, a consulting environment, it's an important topic, but sometimes it's missed. Maybe what do you actually do to prevent burnout? What kind of actions can you take to ensure that your team aren't getting near that stage, or even for yourself? Like, is there anything that you put into place to ensure your team aren't going to be affected by burnout, or for yourself individually as well?
Yes, this is a great question.
It's a big topic.
Yeah, so ultimately, I became to realize, experiencing burnout myself, that it's in the end really about protecting your own boundaries.
Yeah.
So there's been no one that could have prevented me from getting in a burnout. However, I think it's really about making sure that we support people by recognizing signs and by supporting them in indicating their boundaries. Yeah. So what I'm saying is that with the people in our team, I think by checking in with these conversations that I mentioned, you already have a sign of whether someone is the bucket, like we say in the Netherlands, like the bucket is getting full and there's just one drop needed to let it spill. So that's something that you typically can see, and I think it's important that we support people and that we don't pressure them like that they have to take on more work. I think we really have to create an environment where it's okay for people to say, to ask for help or indicate I don't have the capacity to take more. But in the end, it's also to give them the feeling of safety, enough safety, that they're able to speak up. Hey, this is too much for me. And this requires a very safe environment. So I really aim to create a safe environment for people to share their thoughts.
Yeah, it's such an important one, because I think what employees don't often know is that their employers are very open to hearing that kind of and having that conversation to ensure that doesn't happen to them. But the worry is that, they don't want to speak up and they don't want to see us being less strong than another team member. So creating that safe space for people, and even just having this conversation that invites people to know that leadership are really there to take care of you, as well as getting the job done and providing great solutions for their customers. They're also looking after you at the end of the day. So that safe space and the knowledge of having that is such a big thing, just that they can even have the voice to say it.
Absolutely, and it's so scary. I've been there myself, because you want to show that you can do the job, etc. And you even can start doubting yourself, like, I don't see other people like getting into burnout. Why is this too much for me? I have to keep pushing through. And of course, your personality can be a risk factor. It is sure for me, because I'd like to go above and beyond too much. But yeah, I briefly mentioned it. I've experienced burnout myself. I'm still not fully out of it or recovered from that. But I've got so much support from my managers with taking the time to really make sure that I rest and recover from this. And they even asked me, like, what kind of support can we give you? So they proactively mentioned, like, there's a therapist you could talk to via the work. So I think this is great. It makes me feel supported, and it makes me it makes me feel very grateful for working for such a company that respects me and supports me.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny, isn't it? As humans, I think we're always caught up in how we're perceived, but actually everyone's always thinking about how they're perceived and they're not actually thinking about how they're perceiving others. So
Yep.
usually when you're thinking that, oh my gosh, I'm really struggling with burnout at the moment and this other person seems to be doing really well with it and not showing any signs of the same, they might just have different coping mechanisms and way that they show it and they might be better at hiding it.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Was there a pivotal moment where you realised that burnout was really affecting you?
Well, I couldn't ignore it. Honestly, I had no idea it was coming. So I do get to hear from people that they say that I'm like always very busy and have a lot of work and should take more breaks. But I remember that on a Friday, I was in the office. I was feeling super happy with a lot of energy. I saw my colleagues. I went in the weekends, had a great weekend. And on Monday, suddenly I was not able to click the join meeting button of a Teams call. I could just not move my mouse and the pointer to click the button. I couldn't handle anything. And so for me, it was really clear, with also a lot of other signs that suddenly happened at that moment, that I had to take a couple of days off. That's what I thought. I need a week off. It became 2 weeks and became much, much longer, because I didn't realize in the beginning that it was burnout. I thought, okay, maybe I have like a virus or something that makes me like super tired. But it's a journey in itself. Get understanding, oh, this is really a burnout, and what do I need to change to get out of this, and also to prevent that this is going to happen again in the future.
Yeah, and again, that kind of moment of self-reflection for you, it must have been a scary situation to be in, you know, starting your role and starting your Monday, feeling like you're going to come in absolutely fine, and then, you know, realizing very quickly that, you know, your situation wasn't the same as what it was on Friday when you felt great and you were speaking to colleagues. So yeah. And what did you do during your time off to kind of try and make yourself feel better and come out of the burnout?
Yeah, so in the beginning there was just so much sleep. I don't know if anyone recognizes this, but I slept like I think 13, 14 hours a night, and then during the day I also slept, and this was the case for weeks. So so that's clear that that my body really needed to recover. But it shows, it's sort of, you see this both in the body and the mind. So I took the time to really give the rest to my body, but I needed to do work for the brain as well. So I am someone that really likes to reflect. So I had this little book, and every day I wrote things about that would give me energy, things that cost me a lot of energy, things I would look forward to. I even noted down my energy levels for the day to just see if I could see patterns. At one point, I even wondered, like, should I still work in IT? Should I not just become a dance teacher? I think this happens with many people, that they sort of doubt some things that should not be doubted, because I'm very happy in my work and my role that I have. But I really took the time to be skeptical to myself to see which things do I need to change. So you learn the things that give energy, and those may not be the same things as the ones that gave you energy a year ago or 3 years ago, 4 years ago. At one point, I even thought that I was in a very early midlife crisis. That was also not the case. But why am I telling this? Because it asks a lot of hard work for the brain. All these reflections and understanding who you are now and what you need. So that's the work what I did. And of course, I made sure I sort of did physical activity. Once I was capable, I connected with friends, because I think it's really important in such a time that you get support from your friends and partner as well. So I did all these things, went to a psychologist, etc. So it's a lot of work to actually get back fully to work again.
One step backwards and two steps forward, maybe then, if you're really kind of taking a look at what the problem was or what, you know, you could do to change, then that kind of sitting with your feelings and reflecting and really putting a lot more energy when you've already got not a lot of energy, really in the long run is going to pay off for you.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, so for 3 months I was at home doing all these things that you mentioned. And at one point I was at a handpan festival. I don't know if you know the handpan.
I don't, so tell me what handpan is.
And many people don't know it. It looks like a UFO, but it's not a UFO. Obviously, it's a musical instrument, and it's a musical instrument that's very young. It's 25 years old, and it's a bit of a mixture between a steel drum and an Indian instrument where you can play beats on. So it's a percussion instrument where you can also create beautiful melodies on. Melodies for sound healing or more active music. And I started playing this instrument about 1.5 years ago, and there was this handpan music festival. I went to this festival, and as I mentioned, I was noting down my energy levels for each day, and I saw a gradual progress there. And this week on the handpan festival, my energy levels were completely in green because I connected with these people, I connected with music. And I felt I talked to many people who sort of had similar experiences as I had. So I met this young man, I will call him Thomas for the sake of the privacy, who had been in a similar sort of journey, in a situation where he used to work as an anesthetist. Yes, that. So it's a really a job of the mind, and of course there's also some physical work, but it's really something where you need your brain a lot for, with a lot of theory. And he told me that he had been always doing medicine, always thought he wanted to be a doctor, working in the operating room. And at one point he was standing in the operating room and he looked around and he said, "What am I doing here?" And he got into I thought a burnout, but he said, "No, I got into a reorientation." And I asked him, "Tell me more about reorientation. Aren't you talking about a burnout?" And he said, "No, I don't like the word burnout, because reorientation is about reorienting yourself about where you need to be now, what you need to do, what your needs are. If I talk about burnout, it's an effect. It's an effect of something that happened before, but it doesn't tell anything about what you're doing right now or what's going to happen." So I really like this and I hold on to this. Yeah, I'm reorienting myself about what I need to change.
And it's such a refreshing way to look at it. You're right, it is not just kind of sitting and being burnt out and, feeling like the world's against you. It's trying to understand where you need to change and what actions you can take to change as well. Because I think as people, we do change a lot over time, and that's not just in our, personal relationships and the way that we function outside of work, but you also do have to take that time to readjust and reevaluate what you're doing work-wise and what's really giving you energy. It's so important, and reorienting the way that you work, if that's the plural of that, is, again, it kind of just summarizes exactly that very well.
Absolutely, and it gives a form of empowerment, right? Because burnout is really, for me, it doesn't sound empowering. Reorientation shows possibilities for me, something that I have some control or power in, to choose my own destiny.
So we've talked a lot about kind of what you've done yourself to try and readjust and prevent burnout from happening, but is there any kind of key takeaways or kind of simple activities that people can apply to the way that they work that can help them to prevent burnout?
Well, based on my own experiences, because everyone works differently, of course, but I think in the end, it's really about making sure that you know what's important to you. And sometimes there are even these sort of tasks about writing down a list of things that are important to you, and people will write down my kids, my partner, my health. And then in the second list, you can write down what takes most of your time. And they will write down work and maybe Netflix and things. And yeah, I think there is like a discrepancy between that, and it will be confronting, but it also allows you to realize, maybe I want to spend more time and energy in the things that matter to me. And I think if you have if you have a good balance and you do enough of the things that are important to you, I think that's a huge way to prevent burnout. So just in the end, it's about staying like really true to yourself and what matters to you.
And holding yourself accountable as well against those things once you've taken the time to reflect. In your career, you really have overcome a lot of challenges. You've readjusted to, things that have come up that you never expected, even at very early stages in your career. You've changed your needs and you've been very successful along the way. Is there any advice, if you were to be speaking to your younger self, that you would like to say or share?
Many things. So I think not only talking to my younger self, but maybe to many other people for whom this will resonate. I don't think you need a certain degree, in my case a technical degree, to sort of have success in the technology market. I studied literature and I work in IT, which is maybe it's very atypical, but I think in the end it's really about the things that drive, and people will see your commitment and will see your energy and enthusiasm. So it's really about being true to yourself, do what you love, and don't limit yourself into these restrictive thoughts about, I cannot do this because I don't have the degree, or I don't have a degree, or other means or anything. So being true to yourself and knowing that there's more possible than you may think.
Great. Well, we've covered some very interesting points today, and I really appreciate being able to have this conversation with you. I think that's a really nice kind of finishing thought and feeling that we can end the episode on, that I think will resonate with a lot of people and listeners. So thank you so much for joining the episode of the Women in ServiceNow series.
Thank you so much for asking me, and it was great to connect with you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Alldus podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any Android podcast of choice. You can also head over to our website, www.alldus.com, to listen to more podcasts, view our open roles, and stay up to date with industry news. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more great episodes coming very soon.